Hi everybody, Steven here. So this is going to be part 3 of my VMware Cloud Foundation. This is the worksheet, the deployment worksheet on how to configure that. So stay tuned. Hi everybody, thanks for sticking around. So this shouldn't be too long of a video. What we're actually going to do is go through and look at the the deployment parameter spreadsheet. I'm actually going to fill it in for my environment, so you'll get to see me do it. Again, always like to throw this out at this point. For those of you that have subscribed to the channel or done super thanks, hey, 2 thumbs up, really appreciate it. And for those of you that haven't subscribed to the channel, please support the channel by simply subscribing. It's really simple. It's free. Just click that subscribe button. Without subscribers, there's no content developers, okay? And I also have super thanks if you want to do that, but that's totally up to you. Why don't we jump right back into it? Let's go. Let me get this up here. All right. So in the last couple of videos, you've seen this. So we've got this spreadsheet that we're going to fill out. So we deployed the appliance, the Cloud Builder appliance, right? I then need to fill out this spreadsheet, import it into the appliance, and it's going to use the settings from the spreadsheet to apply the settings to my management workload domain, right? Like IP addresses and all that stuff. So we'll take a look at the spreadsheet. Notice it could use the spreadsheet or a JSON file. I'm not going to do the JSON file right now on this one. I will cover a separate video on that. But for the most part, you'll use the spreadsheet to set up your parameters to deploy it. The JSON file would be good if you want to do more advanced stuff. For example, if I only want to deploy a single NSX manager. So if we look here, like in the management domain, we actually see we have 1, 2, 3 nodes to make up the NSX manager cluster, which makes sense. That's what we need. But let's say in my lab environment, I don't have the resources and I don't care about having 3. I only want to deploy just 1. I could do that through the JSON. I'll do a separate video on that. Okay, so let's take a look at that spreadsheet. Let me go over to here and all right. So let me get this thing going here. So you download this spreadsheet. Again, log into your my VMware account. Again, I'm a member of VMUG Advantage, so I basically I can download it from there. And let me actually, where am I going here? There we go. Let's pick that, and then I'm just going to pick this. I'm doing 5.0, not 5.1, just because I already have the build for 5.0, but it's pretty much the same stuff. I'm going to double-click on this spreadsheet. There's actually 2 different spreadsheets. There's one, there's the normal one, and then there's one for VxRail. So you got to make sure you get the right one. So here's the spreadsheet here. You'll notice down over here, you actually have the little worksheets down at the bottom. The first one is just an introduction, basically telling you what it's about. So it says in fields in yellow contains sample values that you must replace with information that's related to your environment. If the cell turns red, the required information is missing or is invalid, okay? So this does a check for you. So let's start off with the first worksheet. It's credentials, pretty simple. So I'll click on that, and let me just change my view here. Let's go to, let's do about 120%. There we go. So notice over here it's asking you, what's the password for the root account for your ESXi host? So that's the 4 hosts that we're going to be setting up our management workload domain, okay? So mine, I'm going to type it in. Mine is VMware 1231 bang. Who cares? I don't care. This is not on the internet, so it doesn't matter. What's the vCenter server username and password? Again, I'm going to basically use the same password for my vCenter server and the root over here. Notice over here when I click into the cell, it comes up and tells you the password policy. So let's tell you this has to be 8 characters, but no more than 20, and it tells you all the stuff that it has to be. So I'm going to leave this the same. And then now when I go to NSX, notice NSX, it's different, 12 minimum, right? So there's a little kind of a difference there. I kind of wish that they would standardize on the full product line. You know, it's all 12 or it's all 8 or whatever. Anyways, it doesn't matter. So I'm going to type in that password for my NSX environment, which I've been using. Same thing with the admin. It's going to ask for that. I'll probably speed this up. Same thing with the audit. So these are all the passwords you would generally fill out for a NSX environment. When I click on the SDDC manager, again, notice it says 20 characters at least. So again, I'm going to use the same password and it's auto-filling it for me. And the VCF one, it says 8 to 20. Okay, I'll use VMware 123 bang. And the admin local says it's 12, whatever. VMware 12. Oh. VMware 1 bang. And I'm going to leave that. There, I've got my everything. You know, see how it was read before. So it's all filled out. Now I'm going to go into hosted networks here. And this is where you've got to kind of pre-plan a lot of this stuff. There's another spreadsheet, a planning spreadsheet that you can go through with your department. So in a production environment, you would actually go through that. Maybe I'll do a separate video on it. But it would basically say these are all the things you have to be aware of, the size of your servers, all that kind of stuff. So you need to know all this stuff, what VLANs your management network is going to be on. So notice over here it's saying what VLAN is your management network going to be on, what VLAN is your vMotion network going to be on, what VLAN is your vSAN going to be on. And again, they pre-populated with some values here, right? I'm not going to do any VLANing here. Again, mine's all kind of nested, so I'll just say 0. But in your environment, you're going to plug in something. Now it's asking you the port group name. What's going to be the name of your management port group, your vMotion port group, or the vSAN port group? Again, you could change it to something you like that's better, and that's cool. I'm just going to leave these at the defaults. That's all I'm going to do. Now, for my management network, what is the CIDR notation? So my management network is 172.20.10.0/24, and the gateway in my environment, 172.20.10.10. And my maximum transmission unit size is 1500 for my management network, which is fine. I'm okay with that. You could change that if you want to, as long as your physical network can handle more than 1500. Now the vMotion, again, same kind of thing. So what's the port group for vMotion? I'm just going to leave mine at the default. You can call it whatever you want. Call it something that makes sense, at least, PG vMotion or something like that. What's my vMotion network? Mine is 172.20.20.0/24. And over here, the gateway is 172.20.20.10. And it's got a 9,000 MTU. So yeah, you want to make sure your physical network can handle that. If not, what happens is it's going to fragment your frames, okay? So it's going to say, oh, here's the 9,000 byte frame coming in, and then, oh, I got to chop it up into 1,500. So you're actually ruining your performance. So for a vMotion network and a vSAN network, you really want to have jumbo frames enabled. So you would talk to your network folks. What's my vSAN network? Again, my vSAN network is 172.20.30.0/24. That's the CIDR for it. Its gateway is 172.20.30.10. And again, my MTU, I'm going to leave it 9,000. These gateways, by the way, have to be pingable. So your host, I'm entering all this stuff into a spreadsheet. The host is actually going to, when we, not in this video, but when we actually start to apply it and do the bring up process, when it goes to validate this, it's going to check these gateways, okay? All right. Now I got a choice. I can go over to the right here or work my way down to the bottom here. I'm going to kind of work my way down. Notice it says the vSphere standard switch name is vSwitch 0. That's your first switch. Yeah, I can live with that. That's pretty default, right? Then it says the distributed switch name. Looks like it's creating a distributed switch for me, and that's what it's going to call the distributed switch. See VMNIC 0 and VMNIC 1. It's saying, oh, okay, these are the NICs, the physical NICs I'm going to assign to this distributed switch. And the MTU size on this distributed switch will be 9,000, which sounds okay, right? Now, notice I'm going to go down to over here, distributed switch profile. Notice it says profile 1. The distributed switch equals 1, physical NICs 2 or 4, right? So primary a distributed switch, traffic for, so it's one distributed switch, and it's going to do management, vMotion, vSAN, my NSX overlay traffic as well, and it's going to go across the 2 NICs that I mentioned up here, okay? Maybe you don't want to do that. I'm going to go from the drop down here, go to profile 1. I'm going to pick profile 2. Now notice profile 2, when I changed it, right off the bat, the cell turned red, and same thing with the cell up here, the distributed switch name. Why did it do that? So it says distributed switch equals 2. So this profile is going to create 2 distributed switches. Physical NICs equals 4, right? So the first distributed switch will be used for my management, vMotion, overlay, traffic, and that's going to go across VMNIC 0 and VMNIC 1, which is great. And then my second distributed switch is for vSAN traffic, which will go over VMNICs 2 and 3. So maybe you're going, oh, yeah, okay, that sounds good. I'm going to isolate my vSAN traffic. That's great. So that's an option you can do. There's another option here, Profile 3. Very similar. It's 2 distributed switches, but now the first distributed switch is going to do management, vMotion, and vSAN, and the overlay traffic will go across the second one. So it depends on how you want to isolate your environment. I'm going to basically say, I'm going to pick Profile 2. Okay. Now you go, you know what? I don't like any of those choices. I want to do something. I want to make 3 distributed switches. That's where you're going to get a little bit more fancier. You have to edit the JSON file for that. Maybe I'll do a separate video on that down the road. But for now, I'm just going to do it like this. My vSAN will be on the second distributed switch. But notice I got my red box here. I've got to fix that. Okay. So distributed switch name, I'm going to call it, whatever. I'll copy this one. It's going to let me copy. I'll paste it. Come on. I'll call it VDS2. There we go. And it kind of automatically populated these for me. Okay? So again, this is where you're setting up your network, right? So let's go over to the top now. Now it's saying your management domain. So remember, there's 4 ESXi hosts, which you should have already deployed or you're about to deploy, depending on your order of things, right? What is the name of your ESXi hosts? So notice over here is SFO01-M01, ESXi01, and then whatever the 02, 03, and 04. Mine's not like that. Mine's SA-ESXi-01 and SA-ESXi-02. And mine's SA Site A-ESXi-03. That's mine. You can call yours whatever it's appropriate for yours. ESXi-04. There's the names of mine. Now you might be thinking, hang on a second, shouldn't that be a fully qualified domain name? It's just a host name. I'll show you where you change the domains. I wish it would be here, but it's in the next worksheet. Now, what is the management IP addresses of these hosts? Notice it just came in with 172.16.11.101. Okay, no, mine's 172.20.10.51 is host 1. The other one's 172.20.10.52 is host 2. 172.20.10.53 and 172.20.10.54. So that's my management interface of my ESXi hosts that I'm going to pre-deploy. Then it's going to ask me, what's your vMotion network want to start at? So in my environment, I'm going to keep it small. I only got a small bunch of servers, but if you're going to have a whole lot of servers, you may want to have this like 100 or 200 IP addresses. So my lab, it's going to start at 172.20.20.51, and my vMotion is going to end at 172.20.20.59. That works for my environment. In the real world, you're going to probably have a bigger range, right? But again, it depends on the number of servers you're going to have down the road. My vSAN startup. So this is all again for my management here. My vSAN startup. My vSAN network is 172.20.30 network, and my first one will be 51, and the end will be 172.20.30.59. I'm going to say, right? Even though I got 4 hosts, but maybe I want to add more down the road. Okay, now it's asking you to validate thumbprints over here. And notice this is all red. So you would basically have to go and get the SSL thumbprints and fingerprints from each of the hosts. Or you can say, no, that means whatever's there, trust it. Okay? So this is going to depend on your environment. In my lab environment, I'm going to say, yeah, whatever you find, I know that's my host and that's it, right? Now, you may have certain security policies where you can't do that, and you got to go in and get those thumbprints and keys. But I'm going to say, no, go whatever you find, that's the trusted one. Now, down over here, it's talking about the NSX overlay. By default, it's saying, hey, NSX, this is for your VTEPs in your NSX environment. So remember, we're preparing for NSX. If you don't know what a VTEP is, you're going to have to watch my NSX videos. So first of all, it's saying, hey, your VTEP IPs will be from DHCP, or do you want to do static? And I'm going to do static, okay, in my environment. What VLAN? Again, you would type in what VLAN is for your overlay network. Mine, I'm just saying 0, just that's the way mine is. Okay. And then over here, I say you use static, configure using static pool. I'm going to go yes. And it gives the pool a description and the name. What this is doing is going to your NSX, it'll go to your NSX manager and create an IP pool with this name and this description. And it's going to say this is the CIDR for that pool. So 172.20.11 network /24 is mine. And the gateway is 172.20.11.10. And again, this has to be out there and reachable, okay? Or your deployments fails. Then it's saying, okay, where does this overlay VTAP pool start at? On mine, 172.20.11.51. And then it's going to end at 172.20.11.59. So again, whatever your range is for your taps, you want to plan this. Make sure you're going to have it for growth as well. Okay, great. So this looks good over here, right? I'm not forgetting anything. Then I'm going to go deployment parameters worksheet. Now over here, it's asking me for my DNS servers. So again, you would specify your DNS servers 1 and 2. I only got one in my lab environment, 172.20.10.10. My NTP servers. This is where you want it to match the one that we did on the Cloud Builder VM. Doesn't have to, but it's better. Also it complains, but it will still deploy. Pool.ntp.org. Honestly, I prefer an IP address here, to be honest with you. Because this is dependent on DNS, and if there's some kind of timeout on DNS, it may complain, but it won't freak out on me, okay? It will let me still deploy things, but it just may not like it so much. Did I type in too many things here? 2.0. Okay, so those are my NTP servers. Let's go over here to the DNS zone. Again, this is my domain name, all right? Mine's going to be called vclass.local, all right? Whatever yours is, Acme Company. Do you want to automatically join the customer experience program? Do you want to enable FIPS? Security mode on your SDDC manager. I'm going to leave these at no. Down here it comes up, says your vCenter data store, right? This is going to be the name of the data store. Maybe you don't like that. You want to call it management data store or whatever. You could put in a name there. Do you want to enable dedupe and compression? Okay. I believe as of 5.0, we did not support for vSAN. We did not support express storage architecture. Okay, we only supported original storage architecture, but as of 5.1, we now do support express storage architecture, right? Now, I'm kind of skipping over this box here. I'm going to come back to it. What's my vCenter server host name? My vCenter server host name is site A- vCenter server appliance -01.vclass.local, right? What's its IP address? You know what? Honestly, I forget. I think it's 94. You got to be sure on this stuff. 2.20.10.94. I'm pretty sure that's mine. Bear with me a second. I'll do a quick test here. Server appliance -01. Yeah, .94. Okay. So you got to be sure about that, or else it fails, right? It will validate it and fail. What size appliance do you want to deploy, right? This is going to depend on the number of VMs you're going to have in your workload management. So again, there's these sizing guidelines you got to watch out for. Okay, so there's a lot of planning involved, and there's a sizing spreadsheets as well. I'm just going to leave mine at small. The storage size, again, I'm going to leave it at the default. My vCenter data center and cluster name, okay? So it's going to call the data center this and the cluster name that. Again, you would probably change this to make something a little bit more sensible in your environment. I'm just going to go with the default because I just want to see what it looks like from a default for settings. Do you want to enable enhanced vMotion capabilities? I'm going to say it's not applicable, but again, this is something you may want to take a look at, right? What architecture is going to be deployed? Notice over here it says you have, in the red, it says you have selected the standard architecture. As a result, Cloud Builder will not create vSphere resource pools within the management domain, right? Remember when I talked about part one, I said this is a standard deployment or consolidated. Consolidated, we put our management and workloads inside the same domain, right? So it's going to separate those two with resource pools. So I'm going to say mine's going to be a consolidated deployment. And notice it's going to create these resource pools for SDDC management. That's the name of the pool. There'll be a pool for edges, another pool for user edges, and another pool for the user's VMs. Again, if you don't like these names, you could change them, right? And that's all that setting really does. Now under NSX Manager host names, again, now it's asking you, remember we have 3 NSX managers. Okay, so my first one here will be Site A-NSX-MGR-01, that's mine. The second one will be Site A-NSX-MGR-02. And my third one will be Site A-NSX-MGR-03. And what is the appropriate IPs for that? It's 172.20.10.41. In my environment, 172.20.10.42. I forgot. Yeah, see how I made a little typo there? Let's try that again. 72.20.10.42 and 172.20.10.43. Let me just confirm this for a second. Let's do a quick ping. They don't exist, but at least I know I got DNS set up for it. Ping site A-NSX-MGR-01.vclass.local. And it's coming back with the .41, so I know that. I think I only got 3 managers, so I just typed in 3 names and 3 IPs, but it's asking me for 4, and that's for the cluster virtual IP, right? So mine, I think I got it set up as NSX Manager. Probably should have wrote this down before I did the video. NSX MGR. Yeah, there we go, 40. So you can see I got DNS set up, and make sure you also got reverse lookup set up as well. Again, this will, when we go to validate this, which I'll do another video on it, you'll see that it's important there. So let's go back to here. It's Site A-NSX-MGR, NSX-MGR, and 172.20.10.40 is mine. Great. Now, what is the name of the SDDC manager, right? The fully qualified domain name and the IP address of it. Again, I forgot what mine was, but probably should have made a note of that. I think it was, let's go back to here. I think it's ping site A-SDDCMGR.vclass.local. Yeah, it is, and it's 160. Okay, so just a quick way. Yeah. If, let's say I did type in the wrong value here, it's going to do a DNS forward and reverse lookup, and it'll come back and fail and say, hey, there's no record for this. At that point, you would realize, oh, I messed up on the spreadsheet. You can go back into the spreadsheet, re-import it, and try again. We'll just see. So mine, I said, was site A-SDDC-MGR- that's it. And its IP was 172.20.10.160. And the network pool, whatever, that's fine for the network pool. I'll leave that alone. And the VMware Cloud domain name, again, I'm okay with that for the name there. So everything is filled out. The only thing I did not do over here was for licensing, okay? So notice under here it says use subscription licensing. I'm saying no. So it's expecting me to type in license keys. Or if I go here, I want to do a subscription license. I go yes. Now, notice what it says. Selecting Cloud Foundation Plus subscription leads to deploying Cloud Foundation in subscription ready mode, or switching to perpetual licensing mode post deployment is not supported. Well, Broadcom kind of got rid of the perpetual licensing. To switch to perpetual licensing, you'll have to delete your partitions and re-image. In other words, you'd have to start over, okay? So generally speaking, you're probably today in production going to be doing subscription mode, and then you'll when you sign in, you'll apply for your subscription. I'm going to specify. I'm going to say no. Now I'm going to specify my licenses, right? I'm going to have to pause this, enter the licenses, and gray it out, and then we'll continue. Okay. Actually, you know what? I'll just leave those in there for now. Actually, I'll pause this. Okay, so I'm done. I entered my license keys. You're going to see all that grayed out, so you don't see my license keys. If you're wondering where I got them from, again, VMUG Advantage. Again, I'm not getting paid or endorsed by them or anything like that. But that's basically about it. All right, that's the spreadsheet for the most part. And there's, oh yeah, one thing I did miss here. I was talking about the NSX Manager. What size do I want to deploy it? Small, medium, or large, right? Remember, small is for proof of concept, mediums, whatever. I'm going to deploy small, just to save resources in my environment, okay? Remember, small is only for proof of concept, all right? And that is basically about it, all right? Now, all I do is I save this. I'm going to go File. I'll call Save As. And then I'll just save it as deployment parameters. Whatever. VCF Steve. And I'm into there and I'll say save. There we go. And that's it, folks. That's the spreadsheet. My next step now is basically to go and get my servers deployed and then put this spreadsheet into the appliance. Cloud Builder appliance. You'll see that in the next video, so you want to stick around for that. So, hey, thanks for sticking around to the end. Hit that subscribe button, folks, if you found this, useful. Again, it supports the channel. Also, hit the thumbs up, likes, and that's it. Leave questions and comments down below, and see you in the next one, which will be soon. Bye now.